A warrior with a sword, surrounded by blue energy, prepares to fend off an attack from a horde of enemies. The warriors charge at him at great speed, but with a single swing of his sword, he delivers thousands of strikes per second, crushing his opponents. His mastery was a gift from the heavens. He had a beautiful palace. He had everything: beauty, gold, power. He could afford anything he desired. Light seeped through a hole, shining directly onto the bald shaman's head, making it glow brilliantly. The hermit startled the prince with his dazzling baldness. The shaman was displeased that the prince called him bald and demanded an immediate apology. But the prince only meant that the shaman had appeared suddenly, with his shining head. The shaman ordered him to shut up and apologize. "Are you going to torment me until I finish?" the shaman asked. The prince replied that he was simply telling the truth. "Why do you want to leave? You have everything for a wonderful life," the shaman continued. "I'm bored with all of this," the prince answered. The shaman nodded in understanding. He covered the prince with the scales of the millennial dragon, the dragon that descends into the mortal world once every 1,000 years, and asked, "Do you think many can afford such a thing? Only you, the warlike Emperor Ilchin, are worthy of this." The prince smirked. "Since when has the great dark mountain hermit become so talkative? Are you already missing me?" "What nonsense," the shaman replied. "If I left you alone, you wouldn't die anyway. I have nothing to celebrate." The prince knew the hermit wouldn't understand him. To be trapped alone in a forgotten world, never to see his family again. The shaman said it was none of his business and added that he had one last thing to do. "Do you truly have no regrets?" the shaman asked. "You will never be able to get back everything you had." The prince grinned. "I regret nothing, and I will return to my home, Earth, no matter what." The dark hermit shaman nodded. "If that is your wish, then prepare yourself. I will take everything you have." "Crazy bastard," the prince spat. The prince wanted to say something else, but suddenly he began to lose consciousness. His eyes slowly closed. The young man lay in a hospital, in a coma. The sound of life support machines filled the room. Suddenly, his eyes opened, his hand twitched. A bright light blinded him. The young man realized he was in a hospital. He had returned home. His body ached. Moving was difficult. It felt like he was dying. His body was weak, and he didn't understand why. He assumed the shaman had miscalculated the date and sent him to the wrong time. But he couldn't stay like this forever. He needed to use an ancient recovery technique. The young man focused, took a deep breath, directing energy into his body. His frail muscles suddenly filled with strength, growing to impressive size. He was back in shape, full of energy, glowing and feeling alive. The young man wanted to call a nurse, but suddenly, a window with a greeting appeared before him. Startled, he stared at it in confusion. He slapped himself, thinking it was a dream. But the pain was real. He even shed a tear from the pain. And he cursed the mountain hermit, because the hermit was supposed to return him to the exact moment he had last been on Earth. The young man tried to make sense of it. He assumed that the hermit had sent him to another world, one similar to Earth. But his name and birth date didn't match. It was too implausible. He wondered when this thing would disappear. And suddenly, the system vanished. The young man was shocked that it disappeared at his request. He decided to test it, summoned it again, and then asked it to disappear once more. He realized that he could control the system window. And he was convinced he was living in an alternate world. He saw nurses in the hallway. The young man politely called out to them. The two nurses were stunned and couldn't believe he was awake. He didn't understand their reaction. Why were they so surprised? One nurse ran to get the doctor. A little while later, the doctor examined him and confirmed that he was in perfect health. The doctor was extremely surprised. After 5 years since the portal incident, the young man was completely fine. The young man was in shock. 5 years had passed while he was asleep. The doctor confirmed it. The young man couldn't comprehend how 5 years had gone by. Judging by his fingers, he wasn't great at counting and tried to figure out what year it was. The doctor stated, "It's the year 2028. The young man was once again in complete shock. He blamed the dark hermit for sending him to the wrong time. In his mind, he was already planning how he would deal with the hermit. The doctor asked him to relax and rest so they could talk later. The young man couldn't believe his ears. 5 years had passed. A nurse urged him to rest and calm down, assuring him that she had already contacted his family and they would be arriving soon. The young man gasped, "My family?" The nurse said they visited him almost every day. He asked when they would arrive. The nurse thought for a moment and said they had been notified as soon as he woke up an hour ago. They should be arriving any minute now. Just then, the door suddenly burst open. A girl stood there, out of breath. The nurse said, "That's your sister." His sister ran up to him, her eyes filled with disbelief. She couldn't believe he had woken up. The young man laughs and says, "Well, you're not talking to a ghost, are you?" He can't believe his eyes either, because the last time he saw her, she was just a little girl, and now she's a grown lady. The girl sheds a tear. The young man laughs with joy. His sister throws herself into his arms and cries with happiness. The nurse shouts that they need to stop, as this could harm the patient. The young man waves her off and says everything is fine. His sister thought he would never wake up and see him again. The brother apologizes for making her wait so long. A sentimental pause. The sister asks how he's feeling, because usually people wake up in severe pain after a portal incident. He flexes his biceps and says, "As you can see, I'm fine." His sister tells him that the pain will catch up with him later. The brother replies, "You mean after your tight hugs?" The sister admits she couldn't control herself. The brother nods in understanding and asks about the portal incident. His sister realizes he knows nothing about it and begins to explain. 5 years ago, in 2023, destruction appeared out of nowhere. A massive earthquake struck the earth, followed by the appearance of portals leading to other worlds. But not all of them. Some portals were called dark zones, inside which terrifying creatures lived. Along with the monsters, people with special abilities also emerged, fighting these creatures. Over the past 5 years, the world has changed drastically. This was the beginning of everything. People call it the portal impact. The young man ponders. Monsters, awakened ones, the portal impact. Too much information to process all at once. His sister tells him not to worry. He will understand everything in time. The young man wonders if the system window has any connection to the awakened ones. He is eager to leave this place and gather more information. His sister asks what he's thinking about so deeply. The brother says it's nothing important. What matters more to him is whether she's in college now. His sister didn't go to college. The brother doesn't understand. She was always the best student. He asks, "Don't tell me it's because of me." His sister says she just got tired of studying and wanted to earn money. The brother thinks she's lying but pretends to believe her. The sister says their parents will be arriving soon. The brother smirks and says, "Changing the topic? Huh, now I believe you." His sister insists she's telling the truth. Their parents should be here any moment. The young man thinks about how long it has been since he last saw them. His relationship with his mother was fine, but with his father, it was terrible. His father was a so-called writer, sometimes a poet, sometimes a novelist, sometimes a critic. He remembers being a child and coming to his father, but his father would ask him to wait a little longer so he could finish his work. The boy would sit nearby and play by himself, but success never came to his father. He lived his entire life burdened by poverty. One day, his father saw him return from school, upset. His father asked him to wait a little longer so they could have dinner together. The son couldn't hold it in anymore. He lashed out, asking if his father wasn't tired of wasting time on this useless nonsense. His father replied that writing was just a hobby now. He had another job at night. He told his son not to worry about it and made his favorite curry. In a fit of rage, the son left, saying he didn't want anything. His father ran after him, but had nothing to say. The father, with all his heart, called his children to eat. He saw his son was uninterested and asked if he wanted to eat. The son replied that he wasn't hungry and was going to a party with friends. His father, understanding, let him go out. He asked if his son needed money. The boy knocked the bills out of his father's hands. He didn't need his money. His father was shocked and confused. As he left, the son said, "If you weren't in our family, we would be much happier." His father was stunned. Now the son realizes what a fool he was for speaking to his father like that. Behind him, a mysterious light appeared. He turned around and saw a portal, but he didn't understand what it was. In that portal, he saw his father one last time, and now he regrets everything, over and over again. When he returned to this world, the first thing he wanted to do was apologize to his father. But 5 whole years had passed. The sound of a package dropping is heard. It was his parents. They ran up to him. Their son greeted them with joy. His mother, in tears, thanked God that he had woken up again. The son was overjoyed to see his parents. His father asked how he was feeling. The son happily said, "Father." The father apologized to him, but the son started crying, saying that he was the one who should apologize. It was his fault. He had regretted it every single day while he was unconscious. His father cried tears of joy. The whole family was together again, happy. His sister was shocked at how sweet her brother was. She burst into tears. Her brother asked if it surprised her that much. Their parents said she always says strange things. The brother joked, maybe she's adopted. His sister lunged at him. 3 days later, he was discharged from the hospital. The doctor was shocked at how quickly he recovered. He even suspected the young man might be one of the awakened, but decided to keep it a secret. The doctor offered to cover half of his medical insurance if he came back for a checkup in a month. The young man was just happy to have his family back. His sister said they had arrived home. They lived at the very top. Brother and sister weren't too happy with the apartment. His sister said their parents rarely visited, so the place was a mess. The young man was surprised. He knew they were poor, but not this poor. He started blaming himself. He had been in a coma for 5 years, and they had been paying his medical bills. He wanted to earn money, a lot and fast, for his family. The next day, he arrived at a massive staircase and started training. He wanted to become a hunter. Hunters earned good money protecting the earth from creatures, but he felt he was in terrible shape to become one. A system window appeared, stating that he had physical contamination, but that didn't stop him. He trained harder and harder. From that day on, he swore to train every single day. Running and running. The system window showed that his numbers weren't decreasing as fast as he had hoped. He felt it wasn't enough. He needed to push himself harder, so his family would never have to work again. He took a deep breath and activated his secret, innate technique. He tried to awaken his potential, to push himself to a new level. He was getting into the zone. He felt stronger and stronger. An old lady with a cane appeared. She heard something approaching. The young man sped past her at the speed of sound. The old lady wished she had that much energy. He kept running without rest, pushing through the muscle pain. His eyes burned with determination. He refused to give up. If he kept moving forward, he could achieve anything, and he would do it as many times as needed. After all, he was the War Emperor. Remembering the Dark Hermit, he keeps running. He runs day and night without stopping. People begin to notice him and grow curious. He looks frail, but he runs without rest. 2 old men discuss their sons, wishing they were strong instead of spending their time playing games. He's almost there, just a little further. He takes a deep breath and feels energy surging within him. He senses the pulsations of power filling his body. And then he runs again, stronger than before. Suddenly, a system window appears, notifying him that he has become stronger, and he can feel it. His system has advanced from 0 to the 3rd star. He has leveled up to level 2. He is overjoyed. His foot steps onto the final stair. He feels incredible, powerful. Turning to the system, he declares, "I did it." The system congratulates him. Now he can finally begin working as a hunter. The next day, the sun shines brightly, and the air is pleasant. Before him stand a massive office building. He planned to arrive early in the morning, but first, he needs to register his abilities. Taking the elevator to the 3rd floor, he ponders why the system hadn't displayed his abilities until this morning. Yet today, his skills are visible, and he has more than he expected. This, however, is a good thing. He's ready to begin. The sound of a mouse clicking fills the room. The tired manager sits at his desk, waiting for another awakened individual, most of whom turn out to be ordinary people. Noticing the young man, the manager sighs. The young man requests to take the awakening test. The manager instructs him to place his hand on the orb. If it lights up, he has passed. He places his hand on the orb. It bursts into blue flames. The manager's eyes widen in surprise. So he really is awakened. Handing him a registration form, the manager watches as he fills it out quickly. Something seems off. According to the form, he is only level 1, yet he has registered 32 abilities. The young man sees no issue, but the manager frowns. "Don't play games with me," the manager warned. Confused, the young man insists he's telling the truth. "Can I show you my system window?" he asks. The manager allows it, but doubts it will change anything. As the system window opens before him, the manager stares in shock. There are clearly more than 10 abilities here. The young man smirks. "Do you believe me now?" The manager apologizes. Taking the registration form to his superior, he presents it to a mysterious red-haired man. The man studies the list of abilities with intrigue. A man in a yellow suit leans in, asking, "Is this real?" He is thrilled to have finally found someone interesting. Returning home, the young man runs again. Stopping to catch his breath, he thinks, "If I run from the office to home one more time, my heart will explode." But his endurance has increased. He grins. This system of rewards is amazing. He expected to start hunting immediately after registration, but that wasn't the case. To become a hunter, he must first complete basic training. Returning home, he learns that training begins at the end of the month. There are 5 days left. The sound of running water fills the bathroom as he steps into the shower. He wonders if he even needs basic training. His body already feels strong enough, but he is willing to do whatever it takes for his family. Training begins. The 5 days pass in a blur. Arriving at the training site, he is surprised by the sheer number of people. There must be at least 50. He overhears whispers about how dangerous the training is. It doesn't concern him. A strange energy washes over him. All eyes turn toward the stage. A female elf appears. The crowd murmurs, "Wine elf." But she is breathtakingly beautiful. Yet the young man isn't focused on her beauty. Before she appeared, he had already felt her presence, even though he had lost his abilities. This was no ordinary speed. This was something else. His interest peaks. The elf scans the crowd. She remembers that the Awakener Association asked her to keep an eye on him. She has never seen someone like him before. Intrigued, she asked for silence. The room falls quiet. She greets the trainees. My name is Shahar Kalaluria, she announces, a great warrior of Elvenheim, but you may call me Shar. My full name is too long. The young man thinks, sound like a puppy's name. The girl standing beside him can't stop admiring the elf's beauty. Does this guy think about anything at all? She wonders. Shar continues. This is the first time an elf has trained humans, so I encourage questions. A hand shoots up. Shar is pleased. The young man glances at the eager participant. A schoolgirl. He thinks. Shar enjoys her enthusiasm. My name is Yan. I'm 19, the girl exclaims. The crowd murmurs. She is quite young. The young man realizes she must still be in high school. Shar nods. Go ahead and ask your question. Yan takes a deep breath. You're so beautiful, and you're the best instructor ever, she shouts. That doesn't sound like a question, the young man thinks. Yun turns red with embarrassment. Shar chuckles, but she appreciates the compliment. I'm the greatest warrior of the Illuriate family, she declares. I prefer to be seen as a warrior, not just a woman. Next question. The crowd raises their hands. One stands out above the rest. Shar chooses a red-haired young man. The young man notices a tattoo on his arm. Something about it irritates him. The red-haired boy introduces himself. Jin Chonghyuk. He smirks. Are criminals allowed to take this course?
The elf asked what crimes he had committed. The red-haired man replied that he had stolen something, but he did not support crime. The elf said that everyone deserves a second chance. The red-haired man felt encouraged. The young man was surprised. She noted that he must try harder than anyone else, fight with honor. One cannot wash away sin, but that doesn't mean he cannot be forgiven. The young man understood everything. The elf asked for the final question. A hand was raised. The elf asked for his name. He introduced himself as Yang Su Hyuk. The elf said she already knew his name and had been watching him. The crowd didn't understand why she knew him. The young man asked if she had a personal interest in him. The elf responded, "Is that your final question?" The young man quickly said, "No, I'll ask something else." So he asked, "Are you the only instructor who will train all the newcomers?" The elf replied, "No, but I see where you're going with this. I can also offer individual training." The young man understood. The Q&A session was coming to an end. But then a man's voice shouted from the crowd. He said he didn't believe her. The instructor was surprised. The man continued, "Am I wrong? There was no proof of her strength, and the way she was dressed was more suited for something else than the battlefield." The elf didn't like that and decided to show her power. With a simple wave of her hand, without even straining, she knocked the entire crowd off their feet. Their bodies were paralyzed, and the man couldn't breathe. "Proof is necessary, but discipline is more valuable," she said. "This is your final warning. Do not repeat this again, or I won't be merciful next time." She noticed that the young man was still standing. She wondered how a first-level recruit was still on his feet. She thought he might already be ready for the battlefield. The young man realized he should have pretended that her power affected him. The elf decided to keep a closer eye on him. The crowd finally came to life and was able to move again. With that, the introduction was over. She wished all the newcomers luck. The newcomers frowned. The instructor bid them farewell until the next lesson. The next day, training began. They introduced and explained a monster. But the young man struggled with theory. He lost focus and started yawning. The instructor noticed this. A wave of elven energy engulfed him. The young man understood it was better not to yawn again. He had never been interested in sitting in front of a board. Then, by accident, he met the red-haired guy's gaze. The red-haired guy pretended he wasn't looking and acted natural. Weird guy, the young man thought. Again, a green gust of wind swept over him. The instructor told him to focus on the lesson. Damn, not even a second to relax, he thought. The instructor announced the lesson was over. "You worked hard today," the instructor said. The students looked exhausted. The instructor was proud. This was the first time in years that students had been so focused. The instructor observed. The young man packed his books. A schoolgirl greeted him. He called her a middle schooler. She yelled, "I'm in high school." "Oh, right, I forgot. You're 19, the young man said. The schoolgirl confirmed. The young man asked what she wanted from him. She was curious why he remained standing when the instructor knocked everyone down. The red-haired guy noticed too and said it was amazing. The schoolgirl asked, "Is your heart made of steel?" The young man replied, "It's just normal like everyone else's. I just got lucky." The red-haired guy pointed out his humility. The young man asked, "Is that why you were staring at me during a lesson?" The red-haired guy apologized, saying he was just impressed. The young man told him not to apologize. The schoolgirl suggested they eat together, but the young man said he was busy and left. Through the window like a real hero. The red-haired guy noted his charisma. Theory classes continued for 30 days. The young man thought theory should be shortened, not extended. He already wanted to take real tests and participate in actual battles. Too much pressure. The exam wasn't that difficult, but it couldn't be passed without training. The schoolgirl was very worried about the test. She asked the young man if he was nervous. He told her not to worry. Maybe that's what made students fail the test. The girl understood. Then they overheard a nearby conversation. A group of students was planning to go out for dinner and drinks, leaving studying for the last minute. The girl didn't understand. The young man said goodbye to her. She called him cold. He thought, maybe it is cold, but I'd rather spend time with my family, and I don't want to lose them again. A month passed, and the day of the exam arrived. The red-haired guy and the schoolgirl were nervous. Soon, the results would be announced. The schoolgirl anxiously imitated the sound of heartbeat. The red-haired guy asked, "Are you seriously saying that out loud?" "I'm so nervous I could die." "Does it really bother you?" she replied. "Yes." She twirled around him, repeating the sound like a child. The young man told them to be quiet. The results were out. They kept goofing around. Their names were on the list. They had passed the test. The schoolgirl shouted in joy. The young man, surprised, asked how she got the highest score. The schoolgirl made a ridiculous face. A sharp glance. The red-haired guy trembled and cried. He had passed the exam. The trio was very happy with their results. If you want a continuation, let me know in the comments. Subscribe and leave a like. See you in the next thrilling stories.